Hola! I wanted to do a quick review here of mandatos so that we can review these and then also you can have something to look back on when you're studying. So let me get here. So just to review, we use mandatos to tell someone what to do. These are common in any language and should not be confused as a demand. There's a difference between a command and a demand. So when you're giving a mandato, you never use the subject, okay? The subject is implied because you're talking directly to the person. Mandatos formales. So these are formal commands are used if the subject would be usted or ustedes. Formal commands are formed by taking the yo form of the verb, for example, hablo, conduzco, hago, removing the o, which leaves you with the stem, and then you're going to add the opposite usted or ustedes endings. So for AR verbs, that would be you add e or n. ER and IR verbs, you add a or on. So notice for conduzca and haga, we've taken the yo form irregular verb, and then we just take off that O and then go to the next step, which is adding the endings. Infinitives that end in cargar and zar, in order to make cargar, they have an ending change, very similar to the ending change that we saw in the pretérito. And this is to maintain the sound of the infinitive. So que, ge, and se. Oops, I'm sorry. Then we have irregular command verbs. These five verbs kind of are always a little bit troublesome, the problem children of Spanish verbs, if you will. They're irregular a lot of the time. So these you're just going to have to memorize. The thing to keep in mind is make sure when you're using dar that you give the accent. Otherwise, it's the preposition de, which means of. The same with estar. You need the accent there so that it is not what's called a demonstrative pronoun, meaning this. Okay, so then we also have the mandatos de nosotros. These are let's commands. So if you're saying to yourself and someone else, let's do this. Same concept. You're going to take the opposite vowel ending. So for the usted and ustedes, it would be the same, ending except for er and ir, and it's the same concept with nosotros. So for AR verbs, instead of being amos, it would be amos. For ER and IR verbs, instead of being amos, it's amos. For example, comamos en Panera, let's eat at Panera. Or salgamos temprano para el partido, let's leave early for the game. Then we have irregular nosotros commands. It's the same ones, the cargar and zar, quemos, gemos, G-U-E, and semos. And then these five are also irregular in the nosotros form as well. And then I just put a note here to see the chapter 10 grammar notes packet for complete details on these irregular verbs. All right, moving on. Mandatos informales. So these are two commands. These are ones that I would say probably you will use the most because you're going to be talking directly to people. Not that you're not using the formal commands often, but I think for myself, when I'm speaking Spanish with someone, I'm typically using informal commands. So these are the ones when the subject would be tú or vosotros in Spain. So the informal affirmative commands, so when you're telling someone to do something, have a different form, different rules than the informal negative commands when you're telling someone don't do something, okay? So if you just think about the basic general overarching rule, and we talked about this, is that in general, okay, commands are going to have the opposite vowel ending from what their infinitive is, okay? That's the general rule. So the only form that does not follow that rule is the two affirmative commands. Okay? So if you look at like usted, ustedes, nosotros, and tú, okay, two negative. All of these, for example, if this were ER and IR, these would be the endings, like the normal endings. So they're just opposite, but they're the same endings that they would be in the regular present tense, except the opposite ending per what type of infinitive they are. The one that does not follow that rule is the to affirmative. Okay. And so for AR verb, it just ER and IR, it's a. So if you were telling your friend, study, it would be estudia. If you're telling your sibling or maybe somebody you're babysitting or whatever, like eat your broccoli, right? Comer, you would say come el brócoli. So it's a for AR verbs, a for ER and IR verbs. So this is a little saying, these are the irregulars for two affirmative commands. And this is a saying that can help you remember them, okay? Van Diesel has 10 weapons, hey. Okay, so here's how that goes. Ven, di, sal, as, ten, ve, pon, se. Okay? Ven, di, sal, as, ten, ve, pon, se. Then the negative form is going to be the same thing. You go to the yo form, you take off the o, and then you add the opposite ending. So decir would be digo, take off the o, and then add the opposite ending. So this is also in your grammar notes to refer to, but carrying on. Then we have commands with pronouns, okay? So we have affirmative commands telling someone to do something and negative commands telling someone not to do something. When the command is an affirmative command, you're going to attach the pronoun to the end of the command. Okay? So for example, ponla en el armario. La is the pronoun. We don't know what la is, but just for the sake of the example, see? Put it in the closet. Affirmative. You're telling someone to do something. Hazlo ahora mismo. Do it right now. Okay, so affirmative, attached. Negative commands. Negative commands, you put the pronoun before the command. Okay, so no la pongas en el armario. Don't put it. No lo hagas ahora mismo. Don't do it right now. No me llames. Don't call me. So it doesn't matter what kind of pronoun it is, direct, indirect, reflexive, they're going to follow the same rules, okay? So if you remember when we had double object pronouns, so direct and indirect, there's separate rules that go along with that. So that is when we have le and les plus another L pronoun. Okay, so le, lo, les, las. We're not going to have two L pronouns. We convert the first pronoun, le or les, to say, then add the direct object pronoun. So, for example, les llevo la comida a los huéspedes. So I have the direct object is yellow. Shall I bring who? Bring what? La comida. So that's direct. To whom should you bring the food? Huéspedes, the guests. And so, yes, bring it to them. So we're going to convert la comida. We're going to make that la. And then we're going to make huéspedes is going to be les. Okay, so we're going to say, yes, bring it to them. Remember, the order of the commands or the pronouns is indirect, direct. So it would be si, lleve, les, la. Lleve, les, la. Well, we can't have the les, so we have to change les to se. Lleve, se, la. So this is a formal command, lleve, because the infinitive is llevar, llevar. If it were an informal command, it would be llévasela. And then remember, if we have 3 syllables, we have to make the accent. See? So that is a very quick review of the pronouns with commands, formal commands, informal commands, and commands with pronouns. So take a look, and hopefully this will be a good review. All right, adios.